What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Kentucky Derby update here with the Racing Dudes as we are going to go through another one. And man, this is going to be a loaded show today because we got lots to talk about. What happened already and then what's going to come up this weekend. Let's recap what happened first. That's what we like to do first here. And we're going to talk about the UAE Derby to start. We had 3 Kentucky Derby prep races. We'll start with the UAE Derby. Look, Forever Young. He continues to be a heavily hyped horse. He continues to be a horse that everybody thinks can come over here and win. He continues to win. He continues to be like good, not great as far as visually, right? I mean, he was good. You can't really say anything bad about this horse. He was good. And I think, you know, if he was over here in the United States and continuing to win like our type of prep races over here, we'd all be pretty high on him. I just think the biggest thing is, can a horse, you know, come from the UAE Derby, come from the race over in Saudi, the Saudi Derby, and come over here and win? I mean, they just haven't had great success. I know we all kind of say it's going to happen one day. It's going to happen one day. Maybe this is the year. We've seen more impressive winners of the UAE Derby. I don't think there's any doubt. But, you know, maybe this horse is just solid, getting better with each race, and he's going to progress and have a real shot. Maybe he is the one to do it. To be honest, I'm not going to pick him to win. I just can't do it. Maybe you throw him on a ticket, though, you know, and that's kind of the end of it for me, at least with him. But if you are going to try to back Forever Young, I don't think it's a horrible idea. I thought he was solid. All right, let's fast forward to the Florida Derby next. And what can you say? I mean, there's one thing I know 1,000% for sure. If Fierceness runs his Breeders' Cup Juvenile race, or if he runs his Florida Derby race, the Kentucky Derby is over. I mean, if he shows up and runs that kind of race, there's quite simply nobody in his category. I mean, the speed figures he's running or receiving, it's just been way better than everybody else. And not only that, I mean, you just look at it visually, he absolutely can dominate a field under wraps. You look at the Florida Derby, I didn't really ask him to run, you know, and he wins by a record margin, 13.5 lengths. It was a bad field, but my goodness, I mean, I just don't think anybody is even close to this horse. However, and this is not breaking news to anybody, this is the big problem with him. He's had 5 career starts. 2 of them have been beyond bad. I've went back and tried to not look at the good and look at the bad and be like, okay, what happened? The Champaign, I almost don't care about anymore. It was a sloppy track. It was a second start. There's a lot of excuses that are kind of built in. And so I kind of just toss that one out the window. It's the Holy Bull that still kind of bothers me the most, because I don't really believe there was much of an excuse in that race. And if he did have one excuse, it was that he didn't break all that well, and he kind of got boxed around some horses and kind of got rank and got checked a couple times and kind of body checked a couple times on the first turn. He did really kind of recover and look well up the backside, though. Like, he was in a good spot. He was traveling really well, and then he didn't fire in the top of the stretch. Now, I think some people are saying, well, you know, maybe that getting knocked around on that first turn just kind of threw him for a loop and he didn't fire. The problem with that is that is likely to happen in the Kentucky Derby unless he draws an outside post, right? He's going to have a little bit of trouble unless he just draws outside, breaks well, and kind of stays away from everybody. So he has some issues. There's no question. However, on the flip side of this, it's hard for me to imagine any horse in this crop currently, and we do have 3 races left, but I'm going to say currently, nobody has been even close to this horse when he fires his best effort. It has been breathtaking. It has been, dare I say, like American Pharoah Justify, like when he fires, he's doing things, it's ridiculous. And the Florida Derby, that was poetry in motion. That is everything you want to see from a horse. So long story short, if you think he's going to fire that race in Kentucky, the handicapping for the Kentucky Derby is over as far as who's going to win the race. And if you think he's not going to fire well, then you got a lot more handicapping to do. So, and look, to transition to the Arkansas Derby real quick, because we can't really talk about it much for the Kentucky Derby because Muth won the race and he is not allowed to run in the Kentucky Derby. So we'll see Muth in the Preakness. But let's think about Muth. I think he's kind of like, he runs the same race every time. I'm really loving this horse. He's so consistent. Muth ran a really good race in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Looking back, you go watch the replay. He ran well, and he wasn't in the same zip code as Fierceness. So to me, that just shows again, with Muth coming back and winning on debut as a 3-year-old, and then winning the Arkansas Derby in his second start as a 3-year-old, and doing it real nicely, very much under control. Not all out, just kind of every step of the way. You felt like Muth was winning both of those races. Fierceness, he's not in the same level when Fierceness fires his best. So to me, that just helps Fierceness, his cause, even more if he needs it. I don't know. I mean, Todd Pletcher, if he kind of thinks he's got it figured out and he knows what exactly needs to happen for Fierceness to fire that big effort, and they do it, it's over. So Fierceness, an incredible Florida Derby performance. I thought, again, talk about the Arkansas Derby again real quick. Muth was great. Can't run in the Derby. I'm happy for Just Steel. He ran in all 4 of the prep races for the Kentucky Derby at Oaklawn Park. He finished second in 3 out of the 4 of them. He's an old school horse trained by an old school guy. How refreshing is it? Hey, this is my track. The big race comes up. I'm running in it. Okay. This is my track. The big race comes up. I'm running in it. That's so refreshing to see that we had that horse ran the series, and that's how it used to be. So Just Steel gets in. I'm happy. He's getting rewarded for running. In this country right now, we don't reward horses enough for showing up to the big races and running. I'm glad Just Steel was able to get in and get second. All right. Let's go to the top 5 now, and then we'll go on to next week here. At number 5, I got a new one on the top 5 list anyway. He's been in the top 10 for a while, but Deterministic, I put at number 5 here. This horse is going to run in the Wood Memorial this weekend. We'll see what he can do. He ran off of a long layoff and won the Gotham Stakes last time out there at Aqueduct. We'll see if he can go to the Wood Memorial and make it 2 in a row. I thought he looked really sharp. This will be a tougher field, so we'll see what happens. And he also has to stretch out for the first time as well in the Wood. Number 4 is Dornock for me. He's going to the Bluegrass Stakes. We'll see what he does. I was very much impressed with his Rimson. I was very unimpressed with his Fountain of Youth. However, the Fountain of Youth was the first race off of the layoff, first race of the year. It was a 4-horse field. Those other horses were nowhere to be found in the Florida Derby. That's a bad sign, but the other part of it is Dornock was pretty bad in that race and still won, and I think he will improve greatly in the Bluegrass. And if he doesn't, he's out, right, as far as for me betting him. But if he does improve like we think he's going to, he will be interesting. So we'll see him this weekend in the Bluegrass. Catching Freedom at number 3 for me. We already saw him in Louisiana Derby. He was a leader in the clubhouse after last weekend. Really nice last to first rally to win the Louisiana Derby. He's obviously he's kind of got passed by Fierceness. I don't think there's a world where Catching Freedom catches Fierceness if Fierceness fires a big effort. Now, obviously, if Fierceness doesn't, he'll probably run 20th, and Catching Freedom certainly will catch him. But anyway, I think this is a really nice horse. This kind of looks like an Angel of Empire type, and that's from last year who got third. And, Catching Freedom can show up and run third, making that rally. That's pretty darn good. So I've got him at number 3. Number 2, Sierra Leone. We'll see him in the Bluegrass this weekend as well. It'll be interesting to see how he improves. I thought he was good, not unbelievably great in his Risen Star win. But again, it was his first start. And just like Dornock, I'm projecting improvement for Sierra Leone. Rimson, we saw Sierra Leone and Dornock go head-to-head. Will we see it in the Bluegrass? Will we see that stretch run? Will they improve and really show us who they are? That's what I'm hoping for. I hope Dornock and Sierra Leone improve second off the layoff, fire big races, and we see a great Bluegrass. But for now, Sierra Leone second for me. And then the number 1 horse, I don't know how it can't be as far as ranking the talent, and that's what we're doing here. Who's talented? Who's the most talented of the group right now that's pointing for the Kentucky Derby? It's Fierceness. There's no doubt. Now, does that mean I'm going to bet Fierceness in the Kentucky Derby? Not necessarily. I'm not quite sure yet. That's a conversation in a video for 4 weeks from now, right after they draw and we get this thing all analyzed. But as far as, hey, who's got the most talent pointing towards this Kentucky Derby? If you're debating it, you're crazy. It's Fierceness. This is incredible what he's done when he fires, and it's equally incredible what he does when he doesn't fire. We've seen horses not run well, not fire all that big, but still kind of, hey, ran okay, just got nipped at the wire or just lost the lead late or couldn't quite get there late. This horse is just like, yeah, I'm done. I'm not running at all if he doesn't fire. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. Fierceness, though, number 1 for me. So Deterministic at 5, Dornock at 4, Catching Freedom 3, Sierra Leone 2, Fierceness #1. All right, let's move ahead to next week. It's going to be, or this week, I should say now, it's this weekend. 3 Kentucky Derby prep races. This will end the 3 100-point series. This will end the 100-point races, I should say. I'll start and mention the Santa Anita Derby, which is probably going to be more of a Preakness prep. Going to be a lot of Bob Bafferts in there, as we know. Now, one horse, Stronghold, who won the Sunland Derby, he is scheduled to run in the Santa Anita Derby. That'll be interesting. How does he stack up with these Baffert horses that are going towards the Preakness? Maybe Stronghold, if he runs really well, we will at least have one Santa Anita based horse make the Kentucky Derby. So I guess if you're rooting for a Kentucky Derby hopeful out of Santa Anita, out of the West Coast, Stronghold's your horse. So he'll be there to face horses like May Moon. I'm sure Imagination will be in there, and probably some other random Bob Baffert. So that will be interesting there in the Santa Anita Derby. The Wood, we already talked about it. Deterministic is going to be the big horse going to the Wood. I believe Tuscan Sky will also go to the Wood as well. There's probably a couple others that will be interesting. So, the Wood always, the Aqueduct Series is always kind of and then we get to the Wood and it's like, oh, that's not a bad field. And I think it'll be the same this week. I think it'll be a pretty good race. And then obviously, I think the race everybody's kind of waiting for, the Bluegrass. You've got Fierceness, you've got you've got Sierra Leone, you've got Dornoch, and obviously Encino, another horse coming up from Turfway that's going to run in that one. That's kind of the 3 headliners. I know Seize the Gray is a horse that everybody is pretty excited about. That's going to go to the Bluegrass as well, and there'll be others. Just a Touch might be there for Brad Cox. So there's horses there that I think are very interesting. That's going to be one of the headliners, no doubt about it. All right, guys, that'll do it for this weekend's Kentucky Derby update. We'll be back next weekend. Next weekend after the Bluegrass and all this, we do have the Lexington that we'll talk about, one prep, but it'll be more recapping and really locking down that top 5 list starting next week, and then just kind of watching for defections and stuff like that. All right, guys, thanks everybody for watching the video. Hit that like button if you like it. Hit subscribe. You really like it. Want to get alert anytime we do videos like this. And most importantly, come back right here next week for another Kentucky Derby update.